Hey everybody, it's good to be here with you. This is Cindy at an open door. It is May 8th, 2025, and this is the hour we call Finding Truth Everywhere. Today we're going to talk about a podcast entitled You Have Permission to Love Your Life. It's a conversation with Neill. I have a song to start our conversation with. It's one of my favorite songs, but it's a different video. So let's begin with that. Here we go.
Today must be the most beautiful day I ever lived. Waves are coming in, but I am sitting still. There ain't nothing I want for. I got everything that I need. So my conclusion is, it's the most beautiful day that I ever lived. This special morning is the most fabulous morning I've seen. Woke up in the sunshine, made myself a cup of tea. Grandpa kissed my head, grateful for another day. Such simple harmony to me, it's the universe's way. Today must be the most beautiful day I ever lived. So simple to say. Waves are coming in, but I am sitting still. There ain't nothing that I want for. I got everything that I need. Everything. So my conclusion is, it's the most beautiful day that I ever lived. In the noontime, I'll take a walk, feeling all in all that I am, flowing with the rivers of life, trusting every woman, boy, girl, or man. 'Cause I am the flowers, I am the sun, I am everything that you see, living in perfect harmony, in a beautiful world made for me. Today must be the most beautiful day I ever lived. Waves are coming in, but I am sitting still. There ain't nothing that I want for. I got everything that I need. So my conclusion is, it's the most beautiful day that I ever lived.
And I love that song. All right, my conversation on this is such that I invite anyone to share it any time. I have pages of notes and a couple of things I'll make sure I get across. but I'm not attached to having it be in any certain way. I'm also in this. Hey, Diego, you're gonna start before I even begin. How you doing?
Hi, everyone. I love all of you and I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy about everything. I am just seeing this love that we all are and how it's just always flowing and that we just don't know it or I didn't know it. And now I'm just seeing that everything is here for us. Everything. And we can just surrender to it. And I love the teachings from Ramana, well, he just stopped. He just stopped because he knew that nothing was what he was. And I love having those moments of stopping. They're just they're just they're there's not even words for it. It's just God, or it's just I'm just like overflowing, or I'm just like I don't even want to move. I'm just like it's just it's just so breathtaking. Um just even a minute of that moment of just so yeah. And I'm just now just like and I'm learning that everything is for me. And I didn't know. And now I know. And I can just surrender to it, whatever it is. So I love all of you, and I'm just so grateful for all of you, and I'm just so happy. So happy to be here with all of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love hearing all of you. I'm always so inspired by everyone. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. What a perfect way to begin a conversation based on a podcast entitled "You Have Permission to Love Your Life." So the first comment is one of the last things he said. Spirit is everywhere, everything. So, in other words, let's normalize it. Let's just notice where you make God special or universe or consciousness. We have so much conversation in these meetings about how important or precious or special or how somebody has it more than we do or whatever. So just beginning with the recognition that, well, the way I put it all is God has what he said. God's spirit is just everywhere in everything. It's not special. We're all consciousness, right? So I like recognizing that, saying it out loud. Um, Not all feelings are emotions, but all emotions are thought. He had me stop and really sit with that pointing. And he was talking about how, as someone who is trained to be an actor, um, you could see how you could use thought to create motion. And I spoke about the first time I caught that years ago when I was walking Harry when he was just a puppy, and he's this puppy thinking that all the leaves are falling from the trees just to entertain him, and he's diving around and jumping in the air trying to catch the leaves, and everything's joy. And then I saw the thought, I am so sad. And then I literally watched the chemistry in the body start to change. Looking at it going, is that true? All I'm doing right now is, hanging out, walking a dog that's nothing but a ball of joy. And then I watched the emotion of sadness just disappear. Um, so I haven't been able to prove that for all emotion, but I see how that can be so.
Will you
The other,
repeat that quote? Feelings.
not
Yeah.
all feelings are emotions, but all emotions are thought. Now, what are feelings that are not emotions? I enjoyed his pointing series, just like this feeling of being alive. He called it a tingle, I think. But just this sense of noticing the formless in the form. That pointing, can you do that now? If you get out of your head, right, and you're not currently thinking, can you just be aware of the formless within the sense of your body, who you think you are, the feeling sense of being alive, and the pointing of how that is always available. The focus on thinking can cover it up. That was the beginning of this conversation. But when you go looking for it, the feeling of aliveness, the feeling of beingness, the depth of just being here underneath whatever story is going on, is always available. Our mental process is a projector, not a camera, was his words. I've a lot of the teachers I like to spend time with say some version of the world out there is a reflection of our current level of consciousness. He did, she asked him to go into that in more detail. What creates the projection? He talked about the three facets. Number one, there's this intelligent aliveness. Again, this feeling of the formless within the form, intelligent aliveness, universal consciousness, the ability for this intelligence to be aware of itself. So there is this intelligent aliveness, this consciousness, and its ability to be aware of itself. And then there's the creative aspect, thought that arises. And he distinguished thought from thinking. And I'm not fully love to know what other people thought of that. Not fully don't know what it means to me yet. But there is a creative aspect to this intelligence aliveness that projects. Said metaphorically, the projector of the mind projects the film of thought onto the screen of consciousness, and then we experience the movie as if it was really happening. So it's an interesting thing because he said once you really get that, once you understand that, then you are safe enough to give yourselves over to the movie. We can live our lives like if Sandra was here. If I'm really feeling sad and that's what's going on, then we get to feel sad, we get to feel excited, we get to feel scared, whatever. But there's the knowingness that it's all just arising within this consciousness. So it's the projector of mind projects the film of thought onto the screen of consciousness. And then we experience the movie as if it was really happening. When you recognize that, he said it could still break your heart, when something tragic happens. You're safe to allow your heart to be broken. You're not trying to change it anymore because you know that it's not really happening to you. It's just the experience. And that allows us to love uncertainty of not knowing what the next moment's going to bring. Here's the question, before I go on, the basics, I saw it all through this conversation. What would keep someone from loving their life right now? Talked about the different ways. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's like he gave some examples. I know that for the longest time, it didn't feel safe to just relax into and love my life. It was like if I'm going to relax and say this is the greatest life ever anywhere, there would be people that want to attack that, or to sit back in this belief that if I'm loving things just as they are, then they'll never change, you know, or how can I be so happy with my life when other people are miserable? Is it disrespectful to be in love with life when other people are suffering? I would love to hear from others relative to this or other aspects of this conversation. How did this conversation affect you? Rana,
Hello. I
hello?
was just waiting for you to go through all your notes.
Oh, I have a few more, but
I'm so enjoying what I've heard so far, and I very much enjoyed listening to this. Um, he opened up, I thought about what Endago shared, and it was so appropriate for the way the whole thing opened up was, just stop, drop the thought, you know, it's just another object of experience. Tap back into the place before thought or under thought, beneath thought. I love all those pointings because there's something that helps me shift and realize, that this may be going on, but there's this constant place that I can go. And he called it the feeling of quiet. And I found that really interesting. And when Cindy, used the quote, not all feelings are emotions, but all emotions are thought. There's no thought when I drop back into that feeling of presence. There's no thought there. There's no real emotion that's going on there. It's just a feeling. And man, is it a great feeling, that I can find comfort beneath the thoughts. And he says we emerge in a different space when we drop back like that. And I've had that direct experience, just a few moments of pausing, and moving from there after just remembering for a second that this is a movie on the screen, and he talked about you can be serious. I mean, what it can be serious, but it doesn't have to be heavy. What a great pointing that is, we don't have to feel heavy in order to care. And that term heavy strikes me as a description of a low vibration, and it also reminded me of Jan Fraser, who I remember her explaining that your heart can break for someone and you can care deeply. but you don't have to yourself be suffering and miserable. You know, there's a beauty and a richness of allowing the heart to break. And that's something that I've experienced directly, and it is awe-inspiring. I'm even getting a chill right now just thinking about it. Kind of the in general quote was what I was getting was presence is constant and life experience is the variable, he called it. So this idea that everything is just rising and falling, it's coming and going. And what's present is always there. You know, I may be caught up in thought for a moment, but that's no big deal if it draws me back again. I just remember again, you know. And the last thing, you know, that idea, it reminded me of Helen Hamilton, noticing the space around the form, considering the formless and the form. Those inquiries really root me in a present moment and help me let go of what the mind thinks that I should be doing or saying, which is part of doing. But the phrase, I can't be happy until, man, I lived with that a lot in my early life. I thought that I would arrive at something and then happiness would whatever. And he says, you know, yes, you can. And what occurs to me, it's because underneath is that presence always, underneath anything is always this quiet, which I've learned is happiness. That is true happiness, that contented, quiet place that is available all the time. But I did relate to that sentence, if I love my life, it will be taken away. I had to get honest with that one and be like, yeah, that belief is being still let go of. There's a bit of a tendril there and a little bit of a cling. So just to keep myself in alignment, being honest about that may be something that needs to be let go further. But I don't have to do it. It'll be presented when the opportunity is right. Maybe just in this conversation here. So thank you. I found the podcast wonderful and I've enjoyed your pointing, Cindy. Can't wait to hear the rest.
One of the things that came up before I hand things to Julie while I was listening to you, which I really appreciated, you know, when she asked him, well, what do you say when someone's really suffering? You know, and a little bit like what we were talking about, Rana, before everybody else showed up. He didn't say, well, this is how I fix them. He said, when somebody's really in it and they're really suffering, then I listen deeply. If it's appropriate, I'll hug them, but mostly I just listen. And was very moved by that. And it reminded me, you know, of all the ways people, Ramana said what? The greatest gift we can give to all mankind is our own self-realization. And the guides who I spend a lot of time with now, they continually say that, you're in service to the world by raising your vibration. And just your presence at a higher vibration with people that are at a lower vibration is all that it really takes to be in this place of making a difference. Not by fixing somebody else's problems, but by simply providing a space that allows them to let go of the lower density. So it's very moved by that pointing. We're not in the business of fixing the world.
Thank you. That's been a big shift here, is about just getting quiet and listening deeply. For some reason, that did not come natural to this ego. I will interrupt you and talk over you, you know? And so this has been a wonderful place to learn the value of that, because that's what you give me. And that's what makes tears, right? I've been crying all morning. I don't know what's going on, but that's what is given to me. So the gift is to give that back, but it takes, I almost said I have to think about it, but it takes a willingness to not speak, to not, it's interesting, but it's been a big shift.
It's a practice. None of us, at least I didn't learn how to listen until the last X number of years through the dyad. I practice it in the dyad practice. Didn't realize how, when you're always when your mind is always looking to respond to whatever's going on in the world, you're not listening. Hey, Julie.
Okay, am I good? Okay. Hi. Hey, you guys really said a lot of what I was going to say. You say so well, that's my ego. You say it more eloquently than me. And I was taking notes, and then I'm like, oh, shoot, I should numb from because I'm doing the same notebook that I did like last week's. And now I'm all like, okay, which one was Deepak's? Which was this? So it's teaching me I need to make pages. So anyway, but I love the movie reference because I'm a big movie buff and I love watching movies. And I really like that, it's just, we're in a movie and just go with it. And they kind of use that as the dating too, like how we like to go on dates because the uncertainty, getting to know, the other person and that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I like that reference. As far as the, the things and I like what Ron just said about because I guess for me this is perfect timing because I would get so involved in what's going on around the world, the United States, and I'd be like, oh, and now after listening to that this week, it really has helped me that I can still care. I just don't have to get absorbed in it. And I can still feel joy in what's going on in me but still be aware of, the people that are suffering. And like he said, sometimes it just gives a hug if it's appropriate. And sometimes, you just listen. And that is not a strength of mine. Grew up in a very talkative family and we always try to shout over each other. And I'm still learning that, let other people finish before I give my 2 cents if it's needed. And sometimes it definitely is not needed. And I'm learning that. I think by being more quiet, and I think that's been one of the greatest gifts is really the quiet for me. So I think, yeah. And then like with when she asked him about the reasons why people feel like they don't deserve this life, I always thought that when my life was going well, the other shoe's going to drop. And as I'm learning in my other program and this now is that just to go with it, I'm happy. I'm surrounded by love. God's inside me. I'm learning this that, I am him. I'm a child of God. I'm built in his image. And it's all about just love. And even if I'm going through a sad moment, this too shall pass and, go with it. And with other family members, if they're going through something that's tragic or that's, can be fatal or just something that it's okay for me to love my life. I don't have to go, oh, my life is great. I know that, but that I can still be okay with that my life's going well, but I can be there for that person and, and help them out any way I can. So I hope that made sense, but that's where I'm at right now. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. Hey, David.
Get my voice on there. Yeah, I was listening to things you said and about if I'm having a good day because it's almost like if I'm having a good day, often I'll feel like, well, I'm going to screw this up. So even and even if that's true and I would. That thought keeps me from enjoying the good day, or it also cuts it short, but it also I can't even enjoy when it is good because I'm always thinking about what it'll be like when it isn't good. And so I wrote this thing, and it talks. There's some truth in it, and it talks more. I call it gladness and sadness, but it can be it can be joy and happiness and good days and bad days and everything else. So I'm going to read it, and you just hopefully it's not too boring and you'll listen. Sadness showed up at my door without a suitcase, but it was determined to stay anyway. Why are you here? I asked. You invited me, Sadness said. You made up the guest bed and let me lie in it. Then when we let our true selves be separated from our gladness, who didn't feel like it belonged anymore, it just left, creating a vacuum, and then the sadness was sucked right in, and we allowed it to stay day after day, saying to ourselves, I just lost my place. Saying to ourselves, sadness isn't not as bad as emptiness, but guess what? Sadness is emptiness because it isn't real. But it sure does seem so. And after we abandoned it, our gladness went wandering in the wilderness without anything to love. But we can call it back. I'm having a lot of trouble here. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. But we see, without any love, but we can call it back. Ask it to come on home. Then, with the help of our gladness, we can love our perceived sadness and try to make it all better. And maybe read it this letter and embrace and love it. It won't be easy, but it can be simple because it is the truth. I'm sorry about all the interruptions, but it's just like I can I had I have a perception of sadness, and like I said, it just makes a hole in my life, and the gladness, it feels like it feels as abandoned as I felt, and so and my gladness wanders off because I sent it on its way by not recognizing and appreciating and loving it, and so. But it's always waiting for me to say, okay, Gladys, come on back. I'm ready now. And it'll just show up. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. And if the gladness can come back that easily, it must not have gone very far. Hey, Mel. Good to be here with you.
Oh, it's great, wonderful to be with everyone. Blessing. And I listened to this 3 times. And the first time, I just kind of get the general message. And then the second time I try to take little notes as I'm usually walking and I take notes as I walk along. But the third time it really hit me. His voice and it really resonated. So it took 3 times, but it was a beautiful. And when just something that happened yesterday, I think, David, you kind of brought it to mind here. I was picking up my car from the dealership that it was being serviced, So I walk in to pay my big bill because I had to get 4 new tires. So, oh gosh. So I went in to pay my bill, and the woman was working. She had like a glass front, but she's the one that takes all your payments, right? So I walk and she we smile and we chat a little bit, and then someone had handed her something, and she said, "Oh, that was so sweet of him to do that for me." And then she said, "I just love my job. I get here at 7 in the morning, and I'm here till 5. I just love coming to work. I so enjoy it. I have so many wonderful people to work with. We all work together, and I just love my job. And I even hate to go home at 7 o'clock, And she was going on, and it was like, wow, here she works at a car dealership, and she was experiencing such joy. And it's not really fun, taking money from people who are really probably kind of grumpy because of the cost. But it was such a wake up to me, to see how it wasn't coming from really what she was actually maybe doing, but just the joy she brought to everything. So it really was so beautiful. And that's kind of, I think, what he's pointing at there too. A couple of things I was going to bring up too was it reminded me when he talked about the projector, that did bring me up to of course, the miracles, change your mind and you change the world
Yeah.
kind of idea that this happens. And the other thing that was kind of cool when he talked about going into in Estonia, he went into that cafe and he had the coffee and he noticed the mural with all the pictures on it. That reminded me, remember when, I don't know if you heard Amy talk about when she was in Italy and how she saw um, they have this procedure. It was right around Easter, and how they had in the little town she was in, everybody would gather and they would walk through the town. First time, I think in white, they all were white, and they were kind of moaning or whatever. And the second time, they all dressed in black, but it was very so somber and dark, kind of everybody in the town would walk through and it was very dark, and how everybody was like seemed like they were focusing on the crucifixion and the angst. It was just a whole angst, the collaborative angst. And it it just kind of it seemed kind of very much the same, that we're not here to add to the angst of the world, to bring our loving energy. And I think that's he was pointing that too, how important it is to not, you know, to not get engaged in all that collective angst or whatever it is, that's really important. So I really, and at the end, I loved how he talked about the shining eyes and the expansiveness. He went through a whole lot of, and when he was reading, saying it, you really could connect with that, and it was the, and he added the flavor of compassion and the boundless joy. And the boundless joy made me think of all of you. I mean, you all bring that boundless joy, that presence, and I just immediately went to all of you. So I really got so much out of that. I'm so grateful to be with you.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Mel. And I too really appreciated his voice, right? And it brought me to the very beginning while I was listening to you, the podcast. Got some notes. When he had his big aha moment, his what did he call it? His beer choke or whatever. Every human being is sitting in the middle of mental health. They just don't know it. And this idea, he had said, and I was trained a little bit in NLP, this idea that they were going to do all this training all over the world, this NLP training. He said, if this training was effective, then we should be the happiest people in the room. But we weren't. And my understanding of the way he said this is because we were walking around with the with our foundational belief is that we're all a problem to be solved. But the truth is, we're all fine. We're all fine. And what if you start with that as your basic assumption? So foundationally, there's nothing wrong. Foundationally, our mind is quiet. So this idea that we don't have to believe our thoughts, right? Because they're not really, they only have the energy we give them. And just this simple, and I was really moved by this. No one has mentioned this idea of listening to background noise. Um, I remember Esther Hicks used to talk about that before. She would just sit where like the air conditioner was or the heating system and just listen to the fan. And it's the background noise. And he clearly stated it's as simple as that. If you're listening to background noise, then you can't be listening to the thinking at the same time, and the thinking stops. And so when you're all worked up about the IRS or tax refunds or cars being stolen or mother in a bad mood, whatever's going on, you realize that the thinking is not helping, right? You could look and Is it doing anything? It's never that thinking mind that keeps us up at night. It A, it's not who we are, and B, it's not effective. It's not useful. And the simple practice, and she was trying to push him. He said, if you want to, you can. And I really liked how he presented that. You gotta want to. So if you choose to say, I don't need this to occupy my space, it's not useful. And something as simple as finding and listening to the air conditioner or the heating vents or the birds outside, the way the wind hits, just some background noise. Don't let the mind tell you that you can't do that. You got problems to solve. And he clearly stated when you take the time, when Rana was talking about, to do that, you go from all of our suffering comes from that thinking mind, right? Does anyone want to argue that? Can I call on you, Chuck? Because I really want to ask you, is it the tax refund or is it what goes on in the mind that causes the suffering?
What goes on in the mind that causes the suffering.
Right. So it's something that's going on in the mind that's always causing the suffering. The world out there is a projector that does nothing other than show us what's going on in the mind. The solution is to step beyond that and just be with the background noise for a while. And he said, it always comes back gentler, quieter. So that's the solution to the IRS refund system, is to stop investing so much energy in it. I have discovered too, when I stop thinking about problem solving stuff, the body will still do what it's got to do. Get more effective, not less. He was talking about that relative to this. We could care deeply about the world, right? Without it being heavy. I loved that. And I loved how he said, my wife used to get really, really mad, and I had to just get really quiet. And then what I said to her next was, when it's really heavy, I'm not effective. Not effective. So I could care deeply about what's going on, but I don't have to invest all the energy in the angst and heaviness. Hey, Livy.
Hey there. Yeah, I absolutely love this one. And it'll be one I'll go back and listen to again for reminders. And what I kept thinking about as I was listening to him was all the life examples that I've had, as recently as Rana talking about when she was helping her husband with something and he made a comment to her, and she had the thought about, he must not think I'm too smart or whatever it was. And that she just dropped the thought. She just didn't stay with the thought, you know. And so as Michael Neill was talking about that, I thought about Rana. And when he talked about his heartbreaking, it made me think of Ram Dass, who worked with AIDS patients, and how he would sit with them and cry with them and, be with them in what they were going through without becoming what they were going through, but just being present. And I love the way Michael Neill talked about it, it's more about the presence rather than being present. And I loved that framing of that a lot. And I took a method acting class at one time and I'd forgotten about, and it was amazing. I did it for therapy. I didn't really do it for acting, but it was amazing to watch these people and also to have the experience of, like, for instance, I did a monologue and he said, well, so who are you talking about? And so I mentioned my ex-husband, and he starts talking about the ex-husband, or he would start talking with the person about their real life, what was going on. And as I started getting a little bit more emotional as he was talking about that, he went, now do it. And then you bring that real feeling into somebody else's words in a monologue or whatever. And it was just fascinating to see how that was done. And so it's taken me a long time to. I loved what he said about emotion and deep feeling. And it's taken me a long time to really feel and have my heart broken. So long I would avoid that because I thought it would be too much. And I thought it would just envelop me. And I am so grateful today that I allow myself to feel, to feel that, as the example that I gave of the Trump Zelensky thing when I saw that, and then recognizing it had more to do with my feelings of being treated that way, and to allow myself to feel those feelings and just allow the heartbreak to be there. So I'm grateful to know all that. And I think sadness can be a beautiful thing as long as I don't stay there. It can be very cleansing. Laughing and crying, they're the same release. And it can be very cleansing as long as I don't pitch a tent and hang around in there. So it just, yeah, I so loved having real life examples to put with everything that he was talking about. And I just loved it so, so much. And I, I, I listened to it about 3 times, and each time I would mark where I wanted to go back in so I could write down, and I will go back and do that. But I'm grateful y'all are touching on all those hot spots. But I thought it was interesting what he said about, and Cindy, you touched on it, about the thinking and thought, and that thinking is thoughts, and is a process of, what did he say? Thinking is a process of thoughts. I can't say it. Am really the world's worst paraphraser. And that's why it's important that I write things down. But yes, I know, I know, I know, I know. Yes, ma'am. I heard it. I heard it. Thank you for pointing it out. So, but yes, thank you so much for this one. I really, really got a lot out of it, and am grateful to reflect on the things that he was mentioning. And thank each of you for your examples of how you do that. So yeah, thank you. Or how we do it, because we're all one, aren't we?
I was looking to see if I wrote that down, but it's not easily found.
But you know what I'm referring to. Yeah.
Yeah. So our perception exists in our mind and then gets projected onto objects. How could things that seem so a part of our reality simply disappear? Mirage, but a real mirage, but it doesn't mean it has a reality outside of your own mind. It's an interesting thing how often I have really believed my thoughts and my emotions, and I knew this was true, and I knew this was happening to me. And then I sat in doing the practice, which more often than not is just accepting that it's temporary and being in some form of awareness, watching awareness, just resting, and then those that feeling of being a victim or feeling of being attacked or feeling depressed or whatever, it just dissolves. Where did it go? No. All right, Chuck, tell me how you're doing right now.
I'm not sure. I'm bouncing back and forth. I guess I'm using my mind too much to deal with the thought, what's being said rather than letting it go. I'm in analysis paralysis right
So what if you choose to let it all go and sit back and just
now. Yeah,
hang with the background hum?
I, I, it battles because I have during this process I have been able to let it go, and but I just keep amazing myself how after I've done that for a while the mind comes surging back again. I keep replaying the same script over and over and beating myself. How do I let this script get going again? Uh, and so now I got to let that go.
Well, what I'm inspired to suggest is you don't have to let anything go. You simply choose where to place your attention.
Hmm, okay.
Our natural state is wellness. Right? We're sitting, what was that first quote? Every human being, that includes you, Chuck, and me, and Barbie, and everybody else. Rana, you too. Every human being is sitting in the middle of mental health. They just don't know it. We are fine. Like, our natural state is wellness, wholeness, peace, openness. And when that is fully accepted, we could rest in that and let the movie play out. One of the things I'm just coming to realize is this: we all have the superhuman power of where we place our attention. And more, I'm choosing to allow the mind to do whatever it's going to do. But if it's focusing on something that's going to work itself out one way or another, something that's temporary, I don't have to give it any power or any energy. I can start looking for that background and choose that and break the habit of thinking. Thinking is what did he say? I didn't know it, but I picked up an unhealthy habit of thinking. And so choosing to focus on like background noise, for instance, whenever you notice that you're thinking is just a very, very powerful place to be. Hey, Livy.
Yeah, and on that note, I just want to share that I had been thinking about buying this new shelf to put my dad's sheet music on, and I was thinking about how I was going to arrange some things and empty the closet and where I was going to put it and how I was going to do this and how I was going to do the other thing. And I just want to report that it got done not anywhere near that way, and it just got done. I didn't, it just started happening, and I didn't have to buy anything. There was something in there that I used, and yeah, yeah. And at the end of the day, I went, I did not freaking eat. I didn't have anything to do with what just happened. And it all got happened. And so just am here to witness and testify.
There you go. Yeah. There's the our entire lives can go that way.
That just reminded me of how you pointed out that I've done a few times when I walked away, everything took care of it.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Barbie.
Okay. I just enjoyed this, so much, the video, especially the name. You have permission to love your life. As soon as I seen that, it's like, okay, this is for me right now. It is. Because no matter how bad or sucky my life is, it's here for me and I have to deal with it. And like I told Cindy yesterday, I'm not doing a good job. I'm surrendering everything to God because I know it's in my best interest to do that. Because there are days when I'm in bed and it's like, I'm just getting up. I have this to do. I have this to do. I missed this class, so I have to watch this, and I'll never get it done. And it's like, and in the meantime, I hear a voice saying, but I have to sleep because I'm feeling bad. I get up, and by the end of the day, it's all done plus more. It's like, I didn't do anything. Where'd it go? And I just love when people will talk about just listening. Well, I was bad at listening for a long time. As a kid, I never got to talk or whatever. I don't know. But about 5 years ago, when I was talking to I used to go out for walks with my friends around the lake, and it's like she told me something, and I'd always interrupt her because whatever on my mind, I have to say, otherwise I forget it. And she says, "Let me finish first." And then she goes, "I forgot it." Well, now I know if I forget it, it wasn't meant to be said. But being in this classroom and everything, it's like, okay, just I learned how to listen more, and that's a lot better. Because when people are start talking to me, I know when to shut my mouth because, and I used to do this a lot. I used to say something to egg the person on, but then I was in trouble because then it's like, no, I don't want to be mad or pissed off at this person because of what I said. So I shut my mouth and it too shall pass. And it might take a few days, but at least it passes, but I'm not in trouble. And yeah, that one, and like I said, I know everything's for me. And even when I'm in my shittiest mood, it's like something happened. And then I'll put it on the altar and I'll talk to God. And it's like, then I get the realization why it happened. And it was the best thing for me because now I can feel the joy and everything that's going to come from it. So, I mean, this one was for me. I know for sure. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right, guys, we've come just about to the end of the hour. Is there anything else anybody wants to share? Just really want to give us all permission to love our lives, the highs, the lows, the in between. Recommend that you take some time frequently to feel deeply into the aliveness that is always available. That's all I got. Stop the recording.